庭で雨の音を聞くのが好きですが、少し贅沢すぎますね。
いつになったら隊長になれるんだ。ここは用地黄金や勝手に出入りされて
仕事がまだ終わってません。休んでいいのでしょうか。
遅い。万来をもって葬り去りましょう。失礼。無力なる滑稽。
深海のカゴ。
注目。無力になさい。
世界の熱狂の渦に。
滑稽。無力になさい。永遠の土を照らす。
Why the fuck does he keep doing the healing one? Why are you being so fucking useless as a Fiorina? Do your fucking other mobs. We don't fucking need a healer with a... We don't need to ever do your... It's kind of annoying. You get a complete moron. It shouldn't take this long, but it's like, yeah, I'm a healer. We don't need you to do the healing one. Do your fucking DPS ones. I mean, I'm just tempted to leave because, God, this is taking forever. Everyone. No, I guess we already popped her. Okay, that's surprisingly fast. Oh god, even quicker if the Fiorina actually chose to use these fucking ads. Like, you don't need to do the healing ones when there's a dedicated healer in the party. It's great that she did the healing ones, out of habit, maybe, but, like, you should only do those without a healer.
私とセピロス剣術について学びたい？一人前になった君に復習するのも悪くないわね。騎士と貴族のしきたりは似ているわ。ただ騎士は小難しいところが簡略化されているの。貴族たちの古いしきたりなんて聞き流してちょうだい。いつか私みたいに何百条ものしきたりを暗記させられても本気にしなくていいから。
震えてるじゃない。極寒のせい？それとも恐怖？見切りました。
知恵の伝道。
光り輝くがいい。
討伐となるがいい。
ここより弱滅の
刈り
時。
取りなさい。
開幕だ。痛くしちゃうかも。
いや神戸を垂れろ。
僕をたたえよう。
いなり
歌え。
すなわち永遠なり。よっ
始まりなさい。
逃げ道はありません。よっ
それこそ知恵の伝道。
見切る無我の境。よっ
乗せてくれ。刈り取りなさい。覚えたわよ。
救済はいらない。いらないの。
Hello, how's it going? I'm doing well. Just it's the beginning of the week, so it's always kind of rough, but still chugging along. All sorts. Mostly RPGs. I play games for the story, so mostly focus on RPGs because those have all the nice juicy story. But yeah, I mean, I play Genshin, Honkai from MiHoYo, and then also, Final Fantasy 14. I recently played Dragon's Dogma. I'm playing Sandland. I really need to finish that. Wuthering Waves is going to come out tomorrow, so I'll play that as well. A lot of shit to do. Yeah, I mean, I think generally, if you're a person who's interested in the story of games, you usually play good games. Yeah, because I play. Obviously, I play this game, which you have to do dailies and shit for. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do my dailies anyway, because I mean, I do enjoy it. It's fun to play. Um, what I end up doing is during my lunch break, I get on my treadmill and I walk, which I'm doing right now, while I play this. So I get a good, the doing my dailies kind of distracts me. So normally, if you're just walking on a treadmill, it's like, yeah, you get bored and shit. When I do my dailies, it's like, yeah, a 30-minute, a 30-minute walk, goes by super quick. Sometimes I even, oh shit, they're down there. Sometimes I'm even walking for even longer because it's just so, you just get distracted. You're like, oh, you're in the middle of a quest. You don't think about doing that. From the States. But I will preface that with I'm not really interested in any sort of art services or promotional things. I'm fine with my stream being the way it is, so I'm not really interested in any of that.
みんなどこにいるんだろう。
旅人パイモン。
お、セノ、久しぶりだな。
ああ、旅人も元気そうで何よりだ。旅の疲れが溜まっていないどころか、さらにたくましくなったみたいだな。今日はまた何しに？
ひひ、別に大した用事はない。
そうか。こっちも先日みんなでご飯を食べていた時にお前らの話題になったんだ。また旅でいろいろ収穫があったんだろう。二人を見ればわかる。
本当か？お前たちもオイラたちのことを考え。
ああ、偶然にもな。
I don't get that one. Is it the way he said it? Or is it something to do with... Because I know like that's an actual word, but I just don't know what the word means. So it's not, obviously it's supposed to be a pun, but it just does not translate whatsoever. Yeah, see, like this obviously is... This is obviously, you know, oh, it's nice to meet you, got it. But like the others, it's supposed to be a food pun, like... Virani factor? I'm like, what? Like, it's so unlike any other word. I'm like, what word is that? What word was that supposed to be sounding like? So, yeah, you gotta keep.
昔のジョークをよく覚えていたな。よほど気に入っていたと見える。そろそろ認めたらどうだ。本当はとっくに俺の素晴らしいジョークに夢中なんだろう。
はい、500モラだぞ。持ってけ。
なんだ、賭けをしていたのか。
500モラも負けたんだ。
わかった。なら、実は今から仕事に行くところでな。仕事中は。いや、大したことじゃない。ただ、その当事者の身分が少々特殊でな。いろいろと考えた結果、俺が動くことにした。
なんか手伝おうか？
なんだ。
違うぞ。
だがまあ、悪くない提案だ。スメールの英雄二人と仕事ついてきてくれ。 の人だ。
あいつが事件の当事者。
そうだ。俺とリサ先輩の先生で、元ソロン派の賢者、ジュライ。
トラブル。
まったく、わしは庭の手入れをするか酒を飲んでブラブラするくらいだというのに。
先生、友人を連れてきた。
ああ、セノ、友人とな。お、待った。おむ、空飛ぶ。なるほど。君らが伝説の旅人。
おいらたちって。
先生に友人の話をするのは、ああ。早速だが、事件の状況を簡単に説明しよう。およそ2日前。
脅迫状。
ああ、まさか。
これがその脅迫状だ。
ジュライセン、お前の秘密を知ってくれぐれも随分
よほどモラが。
1000万モラもこちとら毎日トマトと暮らしとるだけの。
現状手がかりはこの脅迫状しかない。目撃者もいない状況だ。まずはこれを見てくれ。ああ。
ってことは
インクのせいでもあり、紙そのもの。
この辺りで手に入る紙のほとんどはこれよりキメが細かく、インクをつけてもこのように。
これは教令員の紙ではない。一方インクの方はさして珍しいもの。
I mean, all paper is made out of plant matter, so what the hell are they talking about? Like, they're like, it's coarse, made like it's made out of plant matter. It's like, well, our paper from machines is made from plant matter. Like, all of it's made from plant matter. Just say it's made. You can just say it's coarse. I mean, unless they're trying to say that they don't use paper that we use, like use animal skin or something, which is kind of weird. Or maybe they write on like bamboo slats, like old Japanese.
犯人。見ろよここ。
水ではないな。
色のついた液体。
どうやらお前らも同じことを考え。
アラブ、ああ、はい。
セノ様、ジュライセン様、それにお久しぶりです。旅人さん、バイモンさん。
先生を脅迫しているのは教令員の人間の可能性が高い。年齢はそう高くなく、金に困っているやつだろう。あとスメールシティのカフェを調べる必要がある。
あのシミは。
そうだ、俺の知る限り酒場やカフェでこういった紙は手に入る。香料。
そう言われてみれば確かに土産屋で見るような特殊。
わかりました。すぐに人。
それからスメールシティの出入り口に見張りを置いてほしい。
わかりました。
さすがセノ、考えが行き届いてるな。でも犯人はどこにいるんだろう。だな。
その通りだ。犯人の態度だ。パイモンが言ったように、脅迫状の目的が金であれば、マハマトラに言うなと書いたところで無駄だろう。先生、そして犯人は先生と先生の全ての秘密を見て。
でもそうなると、うわ
見つけた。脅迫状を書いた犯人だな。
何のことだ。
知恵の殿堂に入った時からずっと誰かにつけられている気配がした。ここは人が多い。だから俺たちはアーラブを探しに来た。行き交う人の中に必ず先生を見てる人物がいると踏んでな。
俺はお前たちの話をちょっと聞いてただけだ。
アーラブが離れた時、お前は
ただ笑っただけだ。
髪に付着していた汚れはコーヒーのシミで間違いない。ただそれはお前がコーヒーに水。シティの封鎖はお前にとって痛くも痒くもない。カフェは花から目くらまし、先生を見張れる。
冤罪だ。俺は。
そうか。なら罪を犯していないのな。心拍数が上がり動くな。さもなければ。
And he also says he didn't do anything, but it's like sending a threatening letter is illegal in and of itself. But hey, I'm doing well. How about you?
ああ、わしもさっき外でタバコを奴の風貌を見るにまだ30代か。
みんな調べがついたぞ。
Oh, that's unfortunate. I mean, good that you're doing well. Yeah, cleaning stuff, that's rough. Yeah, I know how that goes. Oh, yeah, I've had that happen before. You gotta be very, very careful. No, I had to step away for a sec, so I just stopped pressing X.
もうか。
犯人の名前はウラか。
I'm in the middle of a scene right now, so I have to continue myself. I don't really get to autoplay it.
何。
Yeah, she is.
16歳？でもジュライセンはさっき30代かそこらだって。
I mean, I wouldn't say this is a not safe for work game. This is very safe for work. Nothing really mature happens. I guess the only kind of caveat would be if you're like using Lisa to climb up a mountain. Yeah, sure, her moans, probably get you in trouble, but or at least embarrass you if you did this if you did it in public. But Otherwise, like, the actual story and content of the game is relatively safe. I mean, I would even just for that, I wouldn't categorize it as that because it's a weird situation where you'd have to be intentionally doing it like that. In which case, it's not something that is a not safe for work game. It's something that you can make sound not safe for work. Which is like, well, let's like you can make anything sound not safe for work, right? You can make like a Disney cartoon sound not for safe for work. You could like do. It's like saying, oh well, because someone's drawn naked pictures of this character, it's a not safe for work game. It's like no, it has nothing to do with the game. Like what other people do with the game is not really the game's fault.
Yeah.
I say the story and actual content of this game is perfectly fine. And like, you'd have to be like intentionally choosing Lisa and then intentionally climbing up hills over and over and over again. Like, I mean, it depends on where. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Like, because I don't know if it's like an actual proper game. Because like I know that there's the ESRB rating for games, and typically for like actual buy-to-play games, it'll go through a review. But I can't remember what Genshin's review is. I think it's still E, or maybe it's T. T for teen. But like T for teen is not safe for work. Not safe for work is like actual porn in a game. Like a hentai game or something like that. Like that's not safe for work. T for teen is perfectly safe. Like, if a teenager can do it, then it's safe for work.
随分老け込ん。はあ、まったく。まだ若いのにこんな悪事に手を染めるとは。一体どこで覚えてきたんじゃ。
犯人の動機についても取り調べをしました。
話してくれ。
はい。浦香は決して優秀というわけではなく、その成績にも懸念があります。浦香が酒場にいた時、こんな話を聞いたとのことです。ジュライセン様は引退してから衣食住に生活をしていて。
Because I assume the reason why you're here is you're attempting to sell your illustrative services. Which is about like... I'd like to say it's 50%. Realistically, if it wasn't for the few regulars I have, that's going to be tough. Essentially, if you're an artist at this moment... Well, actually, no, at this moment you're relatively fine. You're pretty much fucked going forward, though, because... AI art is 100% going to take over like 80% of all illustrator jobs. Because AI art just does it quicker and better. You just need a few artists to set things up and oversee it. But then AI art can generate the images in between. It's going to revolutionize animation. Because like animation, especially like back in the day, like what they would do is they would take they would take an image and then they would be like, okay, cool, now I need the next frame. And they'd hand draw every single frame. And so it's like 24 frames per second. And they'd have to hand draw it. And usually they like trace over it to keep things relatively the same. But like that kind of shit, you don't need a human to do. Like AI art can easily, like if as an artist, you could probably just draw the first and last frame. And then AI art could just fill in the 22 frames in between. Like, So that's just going to happen. Because it's like, yeah, artists will still have a job, but yeah, there was a huge stink. Well, not really a stink, but like just people on Twitter are well, not really people on Twitter, it's artists on Twitter have been complaining about how people are using AI art because they understand how it's affecting their job prospects, because there's a lot of little busy work. What is its own concept? What is it, like, its own concept, really? Like, have you seen Hollywood? Have you seen the stuff that's being produced? Do you understand that pretty much every story that exists now has basis in stories from hundreds of years ago? Art doesn't change, for the most part. Generally, things remain the same. It's just us redoing the same thing over and over again slightly differently. So, it doesn't need... The process is irrelevant. The end result is what matters. And AI art can produce the end result. So that's all that matters. I do see a lot of artists get and say, well, it doesn't have a soul, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. It doesn't matter. Like, we don't need it. The art doesn't need to have a soul. Because there is no, like, quantifiable measurement of a soul, right? So we can't be like, oh... And also, it's still in its formative stages, too. Like I don't know if you've seen, like, the Will Smith eating spaghetti AI art thing from, like, a year or two ago or something like that. And it was horrible. It was absolutely terrible. Because, like, it was just... There were, like, artifacting all over the place as it was animating that shit. It was crap, right? But, 1 or 2 years later, we have ridiculously good shit. And then even for AI art, it was like, oh, whoops. Like, look, this girl has, like, 6 fingers or something. This AI art sucks. But it's like, yeah, now, less than a year later, they don't. So it's going to become better and better. And for the most part, and as I said, it's not like it's going to completely replace it. It's just going to replace like 80% of jobs. Because an artist will be there so you'll still need a character designer for the most part. Like, you'll have an artist be like, okay, I need to create character designs. I need to create landscapes, perhaps. And they'll draw that up. But then, like, when it comes to, it's like you're just drawing, it's 2D. You're drawing, for the most part, a 2D landscape, right? But what happens if you needed to make it a 3D, right? A 3D model. Well, now AI, generative art, can take your 2D images and map it to a 3D model, right? Whereas before, a human would have to do that, but now you don't need to. So it's not really about complete. It's like the assembly line. It's like how the Industrial Revolution happened. It's just like, yeah, we're not. And robots even too. Like the Ford assembly line is just managed by robots for the most part. Like, robots are the things that are actually doing a lot of the assembly of those cars. There are still humans in the factories. Like, humans have to manage it. There's humans to repair the robots, keeping things work normally. But like, what used to be jobs by people on an assembly line have now been replaced by robots. Like, that is exactly what's happening to art. Is that the assembly line artists essentially are being replaced by AI art, and we'll still have the foremans, the managers of the art assembly line, creating those concept arts and shit like that. But like, it'll still just take up 80%. Like, and that's the thing, is that you get a lot of artists who are like, oh no, that'll never happen. No, we can't. It doesn't have soul. Blah blah blah. It's like, most of the art that's done commercially doesn't really have a soul, right? You're an artist being hired to do something. Is this something you want to do? No. A lot of the times it's like, no, you've just been hired. They tell you to draw something, so you draw it. And maybe you don't like the concept. Maybe you don't like the company. Maybe you draw it and. Well, that's silly. That's a silly argument, because it's like, do I know the back end of AI? Well, first of all, I'm a computer scientist, so I actually do understand how neural networks work. But regardless, do you understand how a car works? Do you understand how a car works? No. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you're a mechanic. Maybe you study cars. But most people don't understand the inner workings of a combustion engine. don't understand how a car does what it does. They can still drive the car. And that is exactly what AI is. The AIR is. AIR is a tool. You know, you put in inputs, it generates outputs, you fine-tune the results, and then you have a workable end result, which you then submit. Also, in terms of animation, for instance, like animation has, 24 frames a second. Do you honestly need a person to draw literally every single 24? No, not really. You just need, because like, what are the actual differences between, frames 1 and 12, right? Barely anything. It's the object in the frame might have moved a millimeter, might have moved a few millimeters. Do you honestly need a human to hand draw that millimeter difference every single time? Nah, AI could easily do that. If you have the object start here, end here, AIR can fill in its movement from point A to point B really easily and instantly. Like, why pay someone to do, why pay someone who's going to take, a lot more time to do something that is essentially grunt work, because it's not really a huge artistic expression, like, between animation. Because, again, there's not much difference between frames of an animation. You'll still need, artists to develop the characters, right? Design the characters. And that's why, as I said before, like, what artists could do is that maybe instead of, so the artists themselves might draw, frame 1, 12, maybe every half frame, right? So it's like, they draw frame 1, frame 12, frame 24, frame, or just add 12 to each one. So frame 1, frame 13, frame 25, et cetera, et cetera. So rather than draw all 24 frames, they're just drawing 2 of the 24 frames, and AIR just fills in the frames in between. Yeah, but I'm not saying you go to an AI art and you just go to you go to one of those AI art generating sites and tell it, generate me art, please. No, it's the same. It's the same thing. So if a client comes to you and says, hey, I want this thing. I want you to draw this character wearing this clothes, and all that shit. All the shit that they're telling you is the stuff you could put into an AI art prompt, and it would generate images. And I'm not saying, oh, well, whatever the first thing you... I'm not trash talking. I'm just saying your job is going to be replaced by... Well, 80% of you are going to be replaced. It sucks, but that's just the way things work. That's the way the world works. This is going to happen. Whether I say it or not, this is 100% going to happen. AI art is here. Generative AI is here. It's replacing all sorts of shit. I think there's even a company that's going to replace localization companies. I think the company is called Orange. I think they created a company called Orange, which is essentially going to replace localization companies for manga and anime. It's just going to happen. And so while you might be having an emotional reaction, because obviously this sucks for you as an artist, because it means that your job prospects are less and you have to work harder and have much more competition, but just the way the world works. Much like you can't be a factory assembly line worker anymore, and so the people who used to do that have to do something else. Now you could roll with the times and become better at manipulating the AI art tools to improve upon your own work and sell yourself as an artist that way. And that's kind of what you would have to do. I mean, sure, there'll definitely be some jobs, obviously. Like, there are some things that AI art will not be able to do perfectly, but do remember, it is constantly learning, and it is constantly improving. So what may be impossible now won't be impossible 2 years from now. So rather than be so resistant, you should, I'm not saying just accept it, but you've got to roll with the times, because, for small scale stuff, sure, that's fine. You always have that personal connection where you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to reach out to these people. I'm going to be commissioned on a one-to-one basis. And I'm talking, this is more for like corporations, how corporations are going to design games, movies, animations, all sorts of media. AI art is 100% going to be used because at that scale, it is far cheaper. and the difference in quality is negligible to none. So I understand that you might be upset, and I don't even know if you're here. You might have left already. I would not be surprised. But, I mean, I'm not trying to say what you do is bad. I'm not saying you're a bad artist, or that you're bad, you're bad at your job, or your job is dumb. I'm not saying anything like that. No, I mean, artists will exist. Human artists will exist, even in the future. But AI art will just essentially be used more and more. And what it will probably end up being is in a project for a company, whereas they might have before hired 10 artists to generate character designs, environments, all that shit. They'll instead hire like 2. And those 2 artists will, do some character designs, do some shit, use AI generative art to fill in the rest. And it will be the same. It'll look the same as it does now, but it'll be shitloads cheaper. Like, what company wouldn't want to do that? So, I mean, it might suck, because obviously what it seems like is like, oh no, these 8 artists are losing their job. It's like, well, no, not really. There's not having, these jobs just won't exist anymore, right? Like we've seen, especially in the game industry, lots of people are being fired, right? Even actual like programmers and developers in their own studios are being fired and let go. So it's just like, yeah, like it sucks, but this is just kind of how it is. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying it's because of AI or at all, but it's like, no, this is just how companies are. It's like they have to restructure, they have to do these things, they have to make these decisions, they have a budget to meet. And while we might think, oh no, we're losing jobs, and yeah, sure, there definitely will be some lost jobs. There definitely will be some gained jobs as well, because now, there'll be new jobs to, improve upon the AI algorithms that are used, and new jobs that are, revolving around all that stuff. So you could think of it like, oh no, we're losing all these jobs. Like it's not really losing jobs. We're just moving jobs. So less artists for this, but maybe more programmers to program these things and develop better patterning. And who knows, maybe at a certain point it'll be like artists become conductors for the AI tools, where they're just like, yeah, so whereas like someone knows a tool so well that they're able to just use it better than other people. Like they're able to put in like the best prompts and provide exactly what the customer needs because they know exactly how to interact with the tool in a way to generate what the customer wants, right? There'll be that kind of shit. So I assume, because you haven't said anything in a while, you've probably left. And it does, I mean, I'm not that surprised. You did tell me to kill myself, so clearly it's not really something someone says to someone who, while then staying in their chat. It's also not something, I mean, you also can't, I don't know, people like to take it as a personal attack too. I say these things like these are objective facts. These are things that are going to come to pass. Why? Because they have. They have come to pass. What do you think the Industrial Revolution was? What do you think the automation of the auto industry was? Like, we've automated a lot of assembly line shit, right? And the only thing that can beat it out is when we hire sweatshops overseas who can do it slightly cheaper because they do inhumane working practices. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Like, history has proven that this is what's going to happen. And sure, there's definitely going to be some, people holding things back. This is how it is. People lose their vested interest in their industry. I think it was like the telephone company. Like, the telephone company was like trying to resist changing the infrastructure to better suit. Was it radio in the telephone industry? I think it was the telephone industry was still resistant. They were just lobbying to essentially keep their jobs alive, essentially keep their industry alive, but it's like, no, like eventually you're just going to be replaced by the next big thing. You know, like telephone has been replaced by the internet. We don't need telephone lines anymore. We have the internet. If you have the internet, we can just do voice over IP and do that for everything, right? Like, we don't need actual telephone lines anymore. We just need cell towers and the internet, and that's like all we need. And so, you know, obviously we're going to lose the jobs that were for people who maintained the telephone line. I mean, like, oh, actually, like even those like old timey movies where you had like those operators, right? The operator sitting at like some sort of desk or whatever, and then they would like answer the phone and then like route the calls and shit. We lost those jobs. Why? Well, because the telephones automatically do that. We don't need to have them like rewrite, move wires around, connect a line or something like that. That's just progress. Also, I would like to say that this dude was here, an artist. Why? Well, because he was coming into my stream to sell his art. That's what he was doing. He was coming into my stream to say, hey, how's it going? Pretend to be a friend, pretend to be interested, and then try to sell their art. So it's like, yeah, I don't really have that much sympathy for someone, because it's kind of a dick move, right? It's like, somewhat. Obviously, I understand, like, as a stream, it is a relatively public space, so I'm not saying, you know, he's wrong for doing it. I'm just saying it's kind of a dick move. It's like having someone performing on the street, right? And the guy walk up to the performer, and say, hey, you want a new guitar? I'm selling guitars. Or, you know, whatever they're playing, whatever instrument they're playing, whatever they're doing. Oh, like, if I'm singing or whatever, you know, oh, do you have this thing? I have this thing. I can sell you this thing. You know, you'd be a better performer if maybe you had this and that and that. I mean, like, you want to chat, that's fine. I don't know, and I mean, I knew at like question 2 that he was probably going to sell his art. I knew before he even mentioned it that he was probably an artist, because just generally I get like at least 50% of the people who join my stream are here to sell their art. Just what it is. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You gotta, it's your job, or you're trying to make your job. You gotta do that hustle. I get it. I understand. I'm not saying you're bad or wrong for doing it. It's kind of a dick move to do. But yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. But basically, yeah, the guy reacted exactly how Twitter's reacting. Every single artist was like, no, AI art can't replace me. It's like, yes, it can. You know? And he's saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a computer programmer. I know how this fucking shit works. I know exactly how it works. I know, like, and he's like, yeah, like, oh yeah, the artist understands how AI art works, and not the programmer, right? It's like, yeah, sure. And it's also silly too, because they're like, oh well, you don't get it. It's the same kind of argument that I saw on Twitter. A bunch of AI artists, or not, a bunch of artists claiming that the way AI art programs work is different. And it's like, no, it's not. Or the way they learn, essentially. Because the way AI art learns is actually very much like the way humans learn. Obviously not exactly the same, obviously. I'm not saying they're either. But people, especially artists who don't understand, you know, how people learn, because they're like, oh well, because like the biggest thing, of course, is that you get these the artists saying, well, AI art is just stealing it. They can't create anything. They create anything new. They're just stealing art. They're just like stealing other people's work. And it's like, well, no, they're not. Like, they are creating their own stuff. Sure, they learned off of other people's work, but you could say the exact thing about artists. You know, real human artists. How the fuck do you think they learn how to draw? You know. They interact with the world, and obviously you could say yes. Maybe you live in the middle of a cave, right? You live in a forest, and you popped out of the forest and saw the forest, and you're like, wow, this is really pretty, and so you start to draw. And let's say you magically have paper and a pencil, despite being in the forest completely alone. And then you could maybe draw, but like, what are the odds that this person drawing in the forest is going to draw anything good, right? Anything remotely realistic? How long do you think it would take for them to draw something remotely realistic? Hard to say. Would they ever? I mean, maybe at some point. Maybe if they continue to draw the forest for a few years, they would eventually be able to draw a photorealistic forest using their pen and paper or pencil and paper, whatever. Maybe. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, no, we don't have these type of living conditions. It's a bunch of people living in the world with other people, seeing other art, because art is everywhere. Billboards, signs, television, media, all sorts of shit. And there's also artists who go to classes, who watch other people draw. You know what that's called? It's called learning. And that's how you're looking at other things, memorizing in your head, and you might be like, oh, like, no, it's not like a machine. It's like, yeah, because a machine does it better. A machine literally memorizes it. Takes it 100%. Also, you might think, machines like just saving up pictures, right? Like, what the machine does is they have 100 stored images, 100,000 stored images. That's actually not how machine learning works, right? What machine learning actually does is it takes the image and then it processes it through a neural network, changing the neural network. So the neural network is actually what evolves. It's not saving any of those pictures. It's changing. The neural network is actually changing as it sees those images. So it doesn't actually need to store anything. And that's why what you train it on really matters, right? That's why you train it on, because that's going to influence its style, right? But it's not, and it obviously, if it's trained on one specific, you train it on like Vincent van Gogh, for instance, and then you have it draw a painting. Yeah, sure, it's going to be very, very similar to Vincent van Gogh because that's its only source of training. So you might think, it's a carbon copy, but it probably won't be. It'll probably be different, but it'll probably be very, very similar. But it's not a copy. I mean, human artists can draw Vincent van Gogh, right? Human artists can take the Starry Night and draw a version of their own. You can reproduce these works. You just can't sell them. And you can't sell them as if they were done by the original artist. Like that's the only thing that's illegal. But you can just draw the Starry Night if you want for yourself. Now, obviously, usually people are kind of sketchy about it, and they don't just do it. They don't just do that. They draw their art and then they try to sell it. And that's where the forgeries come in. But nothing wrong with just drawing a Starry Night for yourself. So, yeah, but people just don't understand that. Not surprisingly, artists don't understand it because they're artists and not programmers. They probably just think, what the computer is doing is it's saving 100,000 images, and then when you tell it, give me a piece of art, what it's doing is it's just taking one of the 100,000 images it has and popping it out. It's like, no. It read those 100,000 images in. Reading them in and of itself changed its neural network. Essentially changed its like synapses and stuff like that. So now, so you can honestly think of it like a brain, right? It's a neural network of a shitload of synapses all in a brain, right? And those keywords are essentially just pointing you down one path of the brain. So that's why you can put in keywords and be like, generate me this and that, and it'll generate you something unique and different each time, right? It's because those keywords are determining which path, which like nerve ending you start on, and which path you're going to take. And because you've trained on those 100,000 images, it's a really robust path and a lot of branching pathways. So it's able to take as many keywords as possible to get you something as close to what you're asking for as possible. But none of those images are saved at all. Now you still do need them to train it, right? Much like an artist needs to see art to train themselves. They need to. I mean, they don't need to. Obviously, there are those geniuses or whatever. But most people go to museums and go look on the internet and see other people's art, watch manga, read books, all that shit, you know. And that's where they get their inspiration for. And that is exactly what AI art does. AI art just does it better, more efficiently, faster, and is able to reproduce things better, more efficiently, faster. And therein lies the problem, right? AI art is doing what artists also do, but does it better. And that's why artists say that what it's doing isn't learning and isn't what they're doing, because they're, essentially jealous, afraid, losing their jobs, which is understandable because they will. It's going to happen. But it's not like all artists lose their jobs. It's not like, as I said, it's like, I'm truly ballparking here. Like, I don't know. I feel like 80% seems a good choice. 80% seems a good likely amount. But like, it's still purely guessing. Because there are just a lot of grunt work jobs, right? Like, people might romanticize art a lot and be like, oh no, I'm an artist. I create something that like means something that speaks to people. But it's like, well, you as the artist don't get to decide what speaks to people, right? So because like what's happening is these artists are now saying, no, AI art can't speak to you because it's not made by a human. But it's like, well, no, AI art can still speak to you. It's like, you're not the arbiters of what, can resonate with people. You like to think you are, but it's also like silly because it's one of those survivorship biases bullshit where it's like, yeah, but you do realize how many artists there have been in the world over history, and most art doesn't resonate with people. So are those people not artists? Hell, Vincent van Gogh, no one liked his shit at all when he was alive. Like, barely anybody liked his stuff. It's only when he died that he actually became popular. So it's like, well, so what? He wasn't an artist back in the day because his work didn't resonate with people? And then what, he only became an artist posthumously because people liked it? It's like, obviously, whether art resonates with someone or not is not a basis for what art is, because then you would be saying that most artists aren't, like, most people who produce art aren't artists because most of their work doesn't resonate with people. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's one of these things that people like to say just to straw up differences, but like can't define the terms correctly, define them incorrectly, define them essentially very self-servingly. And it's just like, yeah, it's just, it might suck if you grow up as a kid and be like, oh, I'm going to be a famous artist and stuff. But like, even still, like any kid saying I'm going to grow up to be a famous artist, like you realize like all jobs, like all jobs, you're going to be, I'm going to be really famous doing this and that. 99% of them aren't famous. Like 99% of actors aren't famous. 99% of Twitch streamers aren't popular. 99% of any sort of thing, like sports players aren't the best, right? Like, or even successful, right? Like, not everyone gets into the major leagues in baseball. There's a lot of minor leagues. There's a lot of people who don't even get to the minor leagues, right? Like, there's a lot of competition and not many people standing at the top. No, it was just some random dude who was coming in to sell their art, and I got onto a topic talking about how AI art essentially is going to replace about like 80% of artists. And for some reason, the artist didn't appreciate that. I don't know. I don't know why. For some reason, he didn't like to hear that. Beyond me. And then he told me to kill myself, and then I assume he left. But I can't tell. I'm on PS5, so I can see you when you chat, but I don't know what my actual view count is, so I couldn't see them drop off. I couldn't see my view count go down because they left. But I still continue my rant because fuck it, why not? And I throw them all my VODs on YouTube, so maybe someone will appreciate my unhinged rant. Maybe I'll get a shitload of. I'd say maybe I'll get a shitload of artists cussing me out in the comments, but I doubt it. I don't have much reach. I don't have many people actually viewing my stuff, so I doubt it'll be anything. But I still thought I'd give my little rant because Oh yeah, yeah. I 100%. I assume pretty much after he said kill myself, I think he left. Like you usually don't say kill yourself and then stick around and be like, ee. I assume he said that and left. But I still kept on going on my rant of just talking about what I think about the industry and about AI art and art in general, and kind of breaking down some of the comments and rationalizations I've seen on Twitter from artists trying to justify their career and try to like convince the world that AI art is not real art, blah blah blah, all that shit. Very self-serving stuff. It's like it's just gonna happen. It is progress. Just like the Industrial Revolution happened, just like we got rid of sweatshops and coal mines, just like how we have automation in factories nowadays, and this is the next thing. It's not really an industrial revolution. You could say maybe more. We're already kind of on the digital revolution, so this is an extension of the digital revolution. But we're going to get as generative AI tools become more advanced, we're going to get them incorporated into a lot more things, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to people will comment and say, "Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm from the States." People will say, "Oh, AIR and generative AI is going to take away a lot of jobs," and it will take away a lot of jobs. Very true. Like it will 100% will take away some of the jobs that exist, but it will create new jobs as well. Because you might think, "Oh, well, now this artist won't have a job." It's like, yeah, but now there's another guy. Maybe there's an artist who's going to take this tool and then make something that they couldn't have made before. Maybe someone wants to make a video game, but they couldn't afford to hire like a talented artist to do something. Now with generative AI tools, they can generate the art for their game that they code, and it'll just change, and it'll just it'll obviously take away some jobs, but it'll enable a lot more people to do a lot more cool things. Because now you don't need to be an artist. Now you don't need to be a programmer. Now you don't need to be this and this, because AI is a tool that you could use to supplement what you might be lacking in your learning, right? Because like there's AI tools that can help generate code. It's not like perfect. Obviously, you can't just say, "Hey, hey AI, make me an operating system." But if it's something simple like, "Hey AI, in Python, generate me a function that takes in these variables and outputs this," or has these functions, it can do that. Something simple. And that's so far. Eventually, it will become more advanced. So, if you're maybe not a programmer, but you're an artist, but you want to make a game, cool. Now you can use a generative AI tool to code your game that you supply the art for, and vice versa. Maybe you're a programmer that can't draw worth shit. You can, use AI to generate the art for your game. Or, it doesn't have to be game related, but obviously I'm playing a game. I like games, so. Shit like that. So, it is a tool, and it will enable a lot of things and make some jobs redundant. Like so many other tools, like the printing press. We put all those monks out of job because we invented the printing press to print manuscripts instead of hand drawing it by monks. And I'd like to say you don't hear monks complaining, but then again, obviously, they probably complained a shitload back in the days. And even still, in automation in factories, like that, there was a huge stink about that when that became popular. When we started putting robots into factories and factory workers were losing their jobs, there was a lot of complaints about that. This is just what happens. This is what has happened in the past, and this is what's going to happen going forward. But anyway, I had a nice long rant. It's time for me to stop and get something to eat. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.